In 1954, Ray Kroc is a milkshake machine salesman, but also, he has a keen interest in businesses. He often keeps an eye on the services of drive-in restaurants to determine their working styles and point out their weaknesses. One day, he gets a call from an assistant at his company, Prince Castle Sales. The assistant, June Martino, informs him about a big order from a drive-in restaurant in San Bernardino. He drives to California and is surprised to see a long queue of customers outside the restaurant called McDonald's. Furthermore, he has learned that McDonald's has a quick service, disposable plates, and offers takeaway orders, while their burgers are intensely popular among the customers. As he enjoys his own burger, the restaurant owner Mac McDonald asks him for feedback and takes him on a kitchen tour. Ray is amazed by their staff's discipline and work ethic, as everything runs smoothly and quick without any disturbances at all. Mac also introduces him to his brother Dick McDonald and reveals they came up with the idea together. Ray admires their restaurant and invites the brothers to lunch and says he wants to hear their story. At lunch, Mac tells them that they moved to Hollywood at a young age, where they started working some minor jobs until they bought a movie theater, Columbia Pictures, in 1929. In upcoming years, every business was going down due to ongoing political situations. It was then that they realized only a hot dog seller was making a lot of money, so they also opened up their own little stand, selling hot dogs and orange juices. In 1940, they moved the stand to San Bernardino, where they started McDonald's barbecue with an aim of bringing food right to the customers' cars. Although they started making sales, they soon learned that there were some difficulties with the business model, as customers sometimes canceled their order after waiting for a long time. Plus, the restaurant had an additional cost to constantly replace broken dishes. Dick came up with a solution. They shortened their menu to only the 3 most popular items: hamburgers, french fries, and orange juices, and replaced waiters with self-service, introducing disposable dishes and a family-friendly environment. Mac tells them that they always wanted to improve, so this time they came up with the idea to get orders ready within 30 seconds instead of 30 minutes. But that was not an easy job. Determined to do anything for the restaurant, Dick took his entire staff to the tennis court, where he drew an outline of the entire kitchen and made them practice until everything was perfectly coordinated and were able to actually make a burger in 30 seconds. Although they had to wait for a while, their business model caught on, and soon they were the most popular restaurant in the area. As Mac concluded his story, Ray is absolutely stunned by the brothers' determination, hard work, and innovative ideas that made them stand out. The following day, he meets up with them again and suggests that they should have different franchises of McDonald's. The brothers reveal they already tried, but it was almost impossible to ensure the same quality while being away, so they gave up on the idea, as they did not want their name to have a bad reputation. While talking to them, Ray spots a photo of McDonald's with a unique design, and Mac reveals it was Dick's plan to use these golden arches to attract customers, which they tried in Phoenix. After visiting the abandoned McDonald's restaurant in Phoenix, Ray returns home with excitement and tells his wife Ethel that the McDonald's brothers are doing an amazing job, and he wants to be a part of it. Ethel does not approve of the idea of chasing a new business, as the couple is just settled in after buying a house, but Ray does not want to be stagnant. After having an argument with Ethel, he goes back to milkshake machine sales, but becomes frustrated and soon gives up and quits. He once again approaches the brothers and keeps convincing them until they agree to franchise the restaurant, but they make him sign a contract to make sure he won't do anything without prior approval from them. After finalizing the deal, Ray meets several investors in the Midwest and presents the idea of McDonald's and its golden arches as his own, with no credit to the McDonald's brothers. During the construction of their new building, Ray has multiple arguments with Dick as he rejects most of the ideas, including signing a deal with Coca-Cola to sponsor their menu. His growing arrogance makes Dick suspicious of his intentions, but Mac is a bit lenient and asks him to give him some time to think about it. Ray finally opens up the first franchise, and as he monitors everything himself, he meets Chef Fred Turner and admires his job in the kitchen. Upon returning home the same day, he apologizes to Ethel for constantly neglecting her and takes her to dinner at their country club. After meeting his friends, he starts promoting his idea and convinces a few of them to invest. With his new investors, he starts a few other franchises, but starts experiencing the same mismanagement issues, which urge him to pick a fight with his partners, as they are unable to maintain food quality standards. After a few days, he sees a Bible salesman in his office, but after learning that he's a Jew who's only doing it for some extra money, Ray offers him to supervise a franchise. Seeing him working with great passion, Ray decides to find other middle-class investors like him and further expand the franchise in nearby locations in Illinois. Meanwhile, Dick tells Mac that Ray is calling his store McDonald's #1, and the brothers start to worry if he wants to take over. Gradually moving forward, Ray goes to Minnesota with Fred Turner, who has now been promoted to his assistant, and meets a restaurant owner named Raleigh Smith. Raleigh admires his business ideas and agrees to open a McDonald's franchise in the area. While talking to him, Ray has his eyes on a woman in a corner, whom Raleigh soon introduces as his wife Joan, but Ray is instantly attracted to her. As he comes back home after a meeting, Ethel tells him she has found a potential investor, but he tells her that they don't need to go after them anymore, because they're chasing him now. Although Ethel is a bit upset with his growing interest in the business, which she now sees as an obsession for him, she still supports her husband. Although a successful businessman now, Ray starts facing some financial issues, as his profits are extremely limited due to the contract. So he calls Dick to renegotiate the deal, but he declines. By now, Dick is convinced Ray will soon take over, so he starts arguing with Mac for giving him a chance in the first place. After Ray misses a few installments, the bank calls Ethel, who learns about the mortgage and fights with Ray for keeping her in the dark about it, as she fears they might lose their home. The next day, Ray visits the bank and argues with the assistant about involving his family, but they ask him to make payments on time if he does not want to be called. Although facing some difficulties at home, Ray cannot stop thinking about Joan and drives to Minnesota to meet her, pretending that he came over to supervise the franchise. At dinner, Raleigh shares with them that they're experiencing higher expected expenses, mainly due to the refrigeration of the ice cream used in milkshakes. So Joan gives him a solution. Joan tells him that the franchise owners can save hundreds of dollars if they use powdered milkshakes that taste the same but do not require any refrigeration. Ray tries it and loves the idea, deciding to implement it at their franchise and then expanding to others if it works. After a while, Ray calls Dick to get him on the same page about the powdered milkshakes, but Dick thinks it's not the real milkshake and refuses to incorporate the new recipe. A few days later, as Ray once again visits the bank to request an extension, a financial consultant, Harry Soneburn, overhears him. Harry offers to help him out, and although Ray declines at first, he accepts the offer after Harry assures him he can solve his financial issues. Harry goes through his books and learns he does not have any cash reserves and cannot even alter anything without the McDonald's brothers' approval. Harry questions Ray about the land of the franchises. Ray reveals that they lease it from someone else. Harry suggests Ray should step into the real estate business in order to buy the land and lease it to the owner, as it will give him an upfront revenue and a greater capital for acquisition. Plus, he doesn't need permission from the brothers. Ray likes the idea, thinking it will generate more money and will give him control over the franchise, which he can later use to stand up against Mac and Dick McDonald. After his approval, Harry arranges meetings with different landowners, investors, and financial institutions, eventually enabling Ray to build a franchise realty corporation. By doing this, Ray ventures into another field, hoping to expand his business even further, while the McDonald's brothers only focus on their restaurant in San Bernardino. After the golden arches spread almost everywhere, Dick learns about Ray's realty corporation and confronts him about it. Ray tells him he created it for the leasing services, but it does not concern him because it's not an alteration in the franchise, but a separate company. McDonald's brothers are rendered speechless against him, while he slowly starts getting hold of the franchises. After getting things in his control, Ray visits Joan and Raleigh Smith again and informs them that he has approved the idea of the powdered milkshakes and is planning to implement it in all franchises across the country. Passionate about the business, Ray keeps on discussing the idea with Joan, while constantly neglecting Ethel, who gets upset with the lack of attention to her. Once again, Dick calls him to ask about the powdered milkshakes that he has delivered to all franchises other than their restaurant, and claims he's trying to challenge their authority. Dick also reminds him of their contract, but Ray refuses to follow the deal anymore because he thinks it's a hindrance to his progress. By now, Ray has completely lost interest in Ethel, so he decides to finalize a divorce, giving her the house and other assets, but no share in the business. After sorting his personal issues, Ray visits a lawyer and seeks help in getting rid of the contract with the McDonald's brothers. He sends a letter to them on a McDonald's Corporation letterhead, making Dick realize that they lost their restaurant to him. When he confronts Ray about it, he tells him that they were content with only one restaurant, but he wanted to take the company further, so he gradually started taking over. Mac threatens to sue him for stealing their company, but Ray reveals that they're in no such position, as they only have one restaurant, while he's controlling the franchise across the country. The situation gives Mac serious stress, and he experiences a diabetic shock. After he's admitted to the hospital, Ray visits him one day and offers a blank check to settle their dispute. Ray meets a lawyer to finalize the details, while Dick calls him and demands $2.7 million for selling their company to him, and also demands 1% royalty from the company's profits and ownership of their restaurant in San Bernardino. Ray does not accept these conditions and argues with Harry while asking him to get them to change their mind, but he reveals the brothers have already informed him that their terms are non-negotiable. After finding no other way, Ray eventually accepts their demands, but requests them to exclude the 1% royalty in the settlement and change it to a handshake deal. Although reluctant, the McDonald's brothers eventually agree to Ray's terms and sign the contract. After the deal, Dick sees Ray again and asks him if they already gave him the kitchen tour and revealed all their secrets, why did he not steal the idea instead? Ray reveals it was not about stealing the idea, but what he wanted was the name McDonald, as it represents the true American culture. He wanted it, but knowing he will never be able to beat them, he presented the idea of franchises, so he could finally come to this stage where he has the entire company. The brothers get to keep their original restaurant, but have to remove the McDonald's sign, as the lawyer warns them not to use it because Ray has its royalties now. With time, Ray builds 1,600 new restaurants and franchises across the globe, which he believes was only possible due to his will and determination. Ray opens a McDonald's restaurant right across from the original one in San Bernardino, and also reevaluates the logo while keeping the main golden arches. In 1970, Ray now lives in his mansion in Beverly Hills, California, with his new wife Joan, who got divorced from Raleigh Smith. In the end, he practices a speech which he had heard in the past and plagiarizes its contents as his own, giving all the credit for his success to himself, saying he got everything not by his education or any other talent, but by persistence. The ending credits tell us about the life course of his partners. According to it, his assistant June Martino became the part owner of McDonald's Corporation and was the first ever woman to trade on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Fred Turner became the senior chairman while Harry was the first president and CEO of McDonald's Corporation, but later resigned due to his differences with Ray. As for his personal life, Ray and Joan remained married until his death in 1984. McDonald's became one of the biggest fast food chains in the world and now serves almost 1% of the population each day. If you enjoyed that recap, I got a good feeling that you'll like this one too. Click on the video on your screen for more.